City through the preservation and protection of buildings, sites, structures, areas, and districts of historic significance and interest through the preservation and enhancement of local historic, architectural, archaeological, and aesthetic heritage found in the city, through the maintenance of the distinctive character of the city's historic districts, and through the promotion and enhancement of the city's historic and aesthetic attraction to citizens, tourists, and visitors. At this point, I'd like to ask our other commissioners to introduce themselves, and this evening I'd like to start from my right and the audience left.
Kamala DeBar-Laban.
Carol King.
Keelan Adams.
Vincent Hall.
Thank you very much. It's indeed a pleasure to see everybody here this afternoon. And as we look at our agenda for this afternoon, we have the approval of the minutes of the August 12, 2025 meeting. The chair will now entertain a motion to adopt the minutes.
I move we adopt the minutes as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Any unreadiness? Any unreadiness? All those in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. Motion carried. Thank you so very much. 7, the Montgomery documentary trailer. Let's take a peep at that right quickly. March is one of the most significant periods in all of American history. The marchers arrived in Montgomery on March 24, 1965, having traveled along Highway 80. They arrived at the city of St. Jude, happy but tired. The next morning, March 25th, the marchers left the city of St. Jude, led by Dr. Martin Luther King. Along Oak Street, they traveled north. When they reached Hope Street, they turned north and passed the Mount Zion AME Zion Church. And from there to Montgomery Street. And en route of traveling along Montgomery Street, when they looked to their right, they could see that federal courthouse where Judge Johnson had given them permission to march from Selma to Montgomery. By the time they had reached the Capitol, I imagine they were tired, but they were jubilant. That's where Dr. King gave one of his most historic speeches of all time. And many people remember that "How long, not long" speech that he gave that afternoon. Today we want to go back to 1965 and see if we can recapture the moment. And we have many of the persons who were part of that Selma to Montgomery March to offer their reflections. Some were male, some were female, some were members of different religious denominations, but one thing they all held in common: they believed that African Americans, black people, deserved the right to vote. They wanted to make certain that the 14th Amendment was enforced and the 1st and 15th Amendment were enforced. And that's what we will present to you today.
Because no lie can live forever.
Yes, sir.
How long? Not long.
How long?
Because you shall reap what you sow.
Yes, sir.
How long? Not long.
How long?
Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne.
Yes, sir.
Yet that scaffold sways the future.
Yes.
Behind the dim unknown standeth God within the shadow, keeping watch above his own. How long? Not long. Because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice.
Yes, sir.
How long? Not long.
Not long.
Because mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Yes, sir.
In 1965, when you even attempted to register to vote. When certain people in the community learned that you had tried to register to vote, some things happened to you that were not so good. In Wilcox County, of the more than 5,000 African-American men over the age of 21, only 0% of those persons were registered to vote. Let's go to Lowndes County. More than 5,000 African-American men there over the age of 21. How many were registered to vote? 0. So you can see how frustrated, how angry, how upset, how concerned some of these African Americans may have been. The date was February the 18th. In Marion, Perry County, again in the black vote, some black people decided to hold a demonstration. One black person who stood up to try to protect his relative from an assault by one of these law enforcement officials was killed. His name was Jimmy Lee Jackson, a Baptist church deacon. He was shot and died a couple days later at the hospital in Selma. James Bevel and a couple of others decided at that point a march from Selma to Montgomery might be an excellent way to illustrate the frustration, the concern of black people, not just in Marion, Perry County, but in the Black Belt and really in the state of Alabama. So the Dallas County Voting League invited Dr. King and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference to come to Selma and lead that march. It just so happened that those marchers left the Brown Chapel AME Church to walk those couple of blocks to the Edmund Pettus Bridge to begin their trip to Montgomery. Governor Wallace had issued an order prohibiting the march the day before. So as those marchers approached the crest of that bridge, they looked over and they saw a sea of blue, state troopers, sheriff deputies, all of these people waiting to block their path en route to Montgomery. But they were attacked within 2 minutes of that. More than 50 people had to be hospitalized that day because of that attack. What law enforcement officials had not counted on was television coverage.
When George Wallace sent his TV, he sent John down to Selma to stop the march, what really helped the black people in the world to see was the TV cameras, because he did not anticipate the TV camera, and that what made it so successful. Without the communication, we wouldn't have had to just, it'd be way more horrible thing than black people decided to being on the Edmund Pettus Bridge.
Knowing what happened in Selma the first time for Bloody Sunday, knowing I had to wait another time to get here, knowing that the people still was registering people to vote and losing their lives, you know. I was determined I was going to be a registered voter.
I had already talked to a very good friend of mine who lived in the street right behind St. Jude. And she had told me that you can make it over if we could march together. I'm going anyway. And I remember getting here and thinking to myself, I'm not going to find it. I had never seen that many people before in my life.
I drove out to Oak Street and Travis Street to watch the march pass by. At that time, what I wanted to do was to take the marches back to Selma, but my baby was 2 months old, and so I can get out to drive.
We ran from one side of the building at St. Jude, looking out the window to the other side, And I could just hear the teacher saying, they're coming, because they could see them out the window coming down Fairview.
So when the time the march came through, the Selma to Montgomery March, and the march organizers were looking for a place where the marchers would be safe. So it was a natural place that the march organizers turned to St. Jude for shelter and help for that.
No, I did not march from Selma to here, but I met them here on the premises. I met Harry Belafonte and Samuel Davis right out here on the ground in St. Jude.
Well, the march happened in 65, and I was born in 52. So I don't really remember anything like that. I just saw a lot of people doing things and moving around. And one particular day, I was taking my mother out to Woodcrest to my cousins, and she literally broke down and cried. And it scared me and it hurt me. And my mother said, you have to pull over, because they was doing a reenactment of that march that very day. So for you to see your mother, to see your mother cry about something so serious and people lost their lives, you can never imagine.
The Selma to Montgomery March was after the bus boycott being launched from this church. The people of the church who were present would have been very active in whatever happened going forward from that bus boycott on.
Well, we was hoping to see betterments of the black race as a whole. That's what the way we be treated, we saw that we needed plenty of improvement in our situation.
We need to make certain that that area from the city of St. Jude on Fairview, along Oak Street, along what is now Fred Gray Avenue, along Hope Street, along that entire route, that we do something to magnify the significance of what happened there on March 25, 1965. Because those were brave people who participated in that Selma to Montgomery March. And those are brave people, we must admit, today, who will recount their stories about what happened along that route. We must applaud those people. We must salute those people, because what they did made a difference. Questions? Anyone?
Dr. Bailey, can you tell us a little bit about it? I mean, who sponsored this? Who produced it?
Yes. There's a group called 65, and they're headquartered in Auburn, Alabama. And I never did meet the top person, but I met some of the lieutenants, and I met the camera people. The lieutenant called me and asked me if I would be willing to do X, Y, Z, and with the council person, Fernella Riley, we met here in downtown Montgomery and laid out the groundwork for everything. And I said to them when I first met them, I have seldom met a more committed group of people who had their eyes focused on a single objective as the camera people and that entire crew that I had the opportunity to work with in producing that. But that's what it's all about. A group called 65, headquartered in Auburn, Alabama, spearheaded everything.
Can we blast it out, in other words? Is it for public?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. In fact, that's on YouTube, and they
Draw
call that the
attention
trailer.
to it.
That's not the entire documentary.
It's fabulous.
That's just a trailer. So when everything is finished, it will be on YouTube, And we had a program at St. Jude in July, I believe it was, where many of these people that you saw on the screen and some other person who were in other aspects of it were there, and it was just a magnificent evening. We met at the Interpretive Center at St. Jude, and for these people to tell their stories, some were much older than others, and some were much younger than others, which goes without saying. But all of these people had stories to tell about Selma to Montgomery. And one of the things that I said last year when we unveiled a historical marker at the Bell Street Baptist Church is simply this, because this point also applies to the 7th of Montgomery March. When we watch a video as the one we watched moments ago, let's apply this point to what I said regarding the Bell Street Baptist Church program. There will come a day here in Montgomery where there won't be anybody alive who remembered that day. There'll come a time when there won't be anyone alive who remembers the 7th of Montgomery March. And to tell the truth, there are very few people today who remember the bus boycott. So we need to cherish the people who have memories of those events. They didn't have to do any research. They just had to recall what happened in their neighborhoods, to their relatives, to their businesses, etc., etc. Another question or comment?
So there is a longer film to come.
Yes, they call that the trail.
Well, that's
and
really
it will
nice
be on
piece.
YouTube.
Yeah, it's a really nice piece.
Yes.
And Dr. Bailey, I saw on there it said National Historic Trail Feasibility Study. Can you say more about that? Because, I mean, it's my understanding that there is an existing National Historic Trail.
Yes. In fact, I was thumbing through some of my old photographs just this past weekend, and I ran across a photograph of Dr. F.D. Reese and me at a program maybe 2 or 3 decades ago where we were planning that 7th of Montgomery Trail. And as I said in the video you just saw, we want to make certain we don't miss anything or anybody who's a part of that 7th of Montgomery Trail. That was huge. And I would not want anybody to minimize what happened in March 1965, whether it was in Selma or in Montgomery or along the route or even before the march took place or began in Selma. All of those were significant events. So at Selma, the Montgomery Trail, the National Historic Trail, that is huge. And we want to applaud everybody who was responsible for helping to make that become a reality. Those people should not be forgotten. In fact, the next time I have the opportunity, I'm going to encourage the sponsors of that to make certain those persons' names are well publicized, every one of them. They deserve it.
And just a quick update, we recently submitted a grant application, a Federal Lands Access Program grant for $3.6 million to focus on safety improvements.
I can't hear you.
The grant would focus on safety improvements for that section of the trail between St. Jude's and the downtown area. So the grant is for $3.6 million, and we should be hearing relatively soon if we've been successful or not. So I will keep you updated if we get that money.
Right, thank you. In fact, I don't know how many people here have been in Montgomery for a while, but a couple of decades ago, especially on Oak Street, those houses were dilapidated. And when you travel along Oak Street in particular, there wasn't that much to be proud of. And any effort that someone wants to make to, shall we say, make Oak Street the pride that it was in the 60s. In the 1960s, there were businesses along Oak Street. There were businesses along West Jeff Davis. It's amazing that I don't think 5% of those businesses are still there today that were on Jeff Davis. So anything that we can do, Historic Preservation Commission or the City of Montgomery or anyone can do to help to bring back that area to what it was at one point, I think would really be good. And not only that, I forgot, on Hope Street, there were a ton of businesses, Hope Street close to Jeff Davis, and all the way from Mill Street to Day Street, there were businesses, and I can name many of those businesses that were located on Hope Street from Mill Street going back to Day Street. And but the point is, in the 1960s, 1950s, when you traveled along that area, you saw people walking, and that was basically a vibrant neighborhood. And that's why we want to applaud anyone who wants to help bring that area back, and we want to applaud anyone who wants to make certain that the memories of that area are not forgotten. All those businesses that were along West Jeff Davis, Oak Street, Hope Street, even Cleveland Avenue. Let's do what we can to make certain those businesses are not forgotten. And one thing that I would love to see happen is for us to try to identify descendants of the owners of those businesses and maybe have a program in which we recognize what their parents, grandparents did on West Jeff Davis, that's now Fred D. Gray Avenue, or Oak Street, or Hope Street, or whatever the case may be. That would be one magnificent program.
And Dr. Bailey, I would say I attended the event at St. Jude.
Yes, you were there.
Yeah, the feasibility study wasn't just recognizing the people who made history and participated in that, but there's also discussion about economic development.
That's right.
So, I still lived in that area, so that was a very robust conversation in terms of not just what was there, but what can be in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that's a good point, economic development, because I was traveling along Fairview just the other day, and when I reached Oak Street, I saw a vacant lot north of that intersection. And for many years, that was a bustling little shopping complex in that area. Nothing is there now. Absolutely nothing. And that day that you were there, I believe it was in July, I said to one person that when Father Purcell came to Montgomery, that first establishment that later grew into St. Jude was located on the lower end of Hope Street before it went to Fairview. And if we can maybe erect a historical marker where Father Purcell started all of that on Hope Street, that would bring back a lot of memories, I believe, also.
I agree.
Anything else before we close out here? Thank you very much, everybody, for your comments. All right, let's go to our Education Committee and get a report.
Yeah, I think I can just sort of interject a little bit. We have not met as an Education Committee. Also, the Designation Committee, we have not met since our last meeting of the HBC. So, yeah, just wanted to say that and let the members know that I'll be rescheduling. I'll send out a reminder with a new date and time, and we can get a meeting, at some point, say toward the end of this month, early into November or so. And so, yeah, just wanted to say that, and so we can look forward to having an update at the December meeting.
Okay. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Anyone has a question for Sean regarding his comments? No question? All right. Our Designation Committee.
That's what he said. He said it's part of that too. It was part of his report too.
Okay.
Yeah. He'll call us together.
It's all together.
He'll call us together at the end of the month.
Yeah, we just did not get a chance to
Okay.
meet.
The committees weren't able to.
Yeah, I was out of office for about a week, and then
Okay.
I think last week I was kind of double booked. So I'm going to send out a new meeting time and date for both the education and the designation committees.
All right. Thank you so much. Fall 2025 plaque review by the board. Let's take a look at 1864 South Hull Street in the Garden District. What is your pleasure regarding 1864 South Hull Street? Is a plaque deserving?
Most definitely, it's a beautiful. Did you ever come up with a? Did you come up with a architect on that?
The architect of the, I did not.
Yeah,
I couldn't
'cause,
find it.
It's a very notable structure for sure.
Anyone else? Is it deserving of a plaque?
I say yes. Do I need to make a motion?
Let's hear in just a minute.
Yeah, okay.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's also deserving of a plaque as well. I think it meets the qualifications that are stated, so I do think it's deserving of a plaque.
Okay, all right. The chair would now entertain a motion that we offer a plaque to for 1864 South Hull Street, Tara and J.D. Norris in the Garden District.
I move the Norris's 1864 South Hull be allowed to receive a historic marker.
All right, second.
Second.
All right, moving properly second. Any unreadiness? All those in favor, let me know by a show of hands. Motion carried. Thank you very much. 1031 Woodward Avenue in Old Cloverdale. What are your comments regarding that? Is it deserving? (1031) Woodward Avenue, Old Cloverdale.
I definitely think it's it's a nice example of a colonial revival. It's kind of fairly early for that neck of the woods in the Cloverdale Ridge area, what they call the Ridge, and it's definitely contributing to the streetscape for sure.
Okay. Anyone else? The chair now entertain a motion regarding the awarding of a plaque for 1031 Woodward Avenue.
I move that we allow 1031 Woodward Avenue a historic marker.
Okay, historic marker. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any unreadiness? All those in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. Motion carried. Thank you very much. 3253 Montezuma Road. What is your pleasure? Cloverdale, Idlewild. Is it deserving?
I think it's a nice example of a smaller craftsman bungalow that we're filling the streets below Fairview Avenue after World War. Well, this was actually before it went in, right before World War II.
Anyone else? The chair would now entertain a motion. Is there a motion to offer a plaque to 3253 Montezuma Road, Cloverdale, Idlewild?
I'll make a motion that we award a plaque to 3253 Montezuma Road.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, moving properly second. Any unreadiness? All those in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. Motion carried. Thank you very much. 2007 Madison Avenue, Capitol Heights. Comments? Is it deserving of a plaque? Comments? Okay, well, yes.
Well, again, it's a nice example of a Tudor revival, a smaller, not so grand, but that was what was happening on Madison Avenue too.
Okay.
I see the construction date, I think probably 1926, because we actually did that survey of Madison Avenue and we took all the dates from the waterworks.
All right.
So that would be that. And I do think that parking pad was approved by the ARB 1,000 years ago.
Okay. The chair will now entertain a motion regarding the awarding of a plaque for 2007 Madison Avenue in Capitol Heights.
Yes, I make a motion as well on 2007 Madison Avenue to award it.
Okay, is there a second?
Plaque.
Second.
All right, moving properly second. Any unreadiness? All those in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Appendix C, Historic District, Highland Avenue.
Excuse me, Dr. Bell, I want to ask Sean, did you ever catch up with Midstate?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're out of business, so we've secured a different sign company. The pricing for our plaques are going up.
Yeah, I bet.
So that's not ideal, but yeah, we do have a new company.
Good.
And so we'll be able to continue the program.
They can do that same metal.
Yeah.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Appendix C, Historic District, Highland Avenue, a draft revised ARB design guidelines. Charlie, want to take the lead on that?
Sure, and again, this is just continuing what we've on the end of each agenda this year. I think this is the second to the last one for another local historic district. This is a very small one on Highland Avenue, just a single street, pretty much, both sides of the street. And as you all may know, this is where the at least part of the streetcar line ran through onto Highland Avenue. And so it's basically just a brief overview of the area. I tried to add in some information about Highland Park as well, since we only have the one street, but it's part of a larger neighborhood. So again, if you all have any comments or see anything that I'm missing or that needs to be added, I'm happy to take that feedback and add that in.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Sean, you want to take the lead on message to the viewing public?
Sure. Yeah, this is just, again, wanted to put a message out to anyone listening. If you all have any feedback or ideas for engagement, things that you would like to see from the Historic Preservation Commission, I've got my contact information on the agenda. You can reach me at 334-625-2041. I'm currently working on, just another note to the board here, I'm working on a newsletter that will go out in the Neighborhood Services newsletter. So I'll have like a one-page blurb explaining what historic preservation is, what it is that we do, what are the benefits, that sort of information. And so I'm hopeful that that will, get our name out there at the board, explain to people what it is, and hopefully get folks, interested in historic preservation. So that's something I'm working on. I was also invited by Neighborhood Services to 2 events coming up on December 1st. I think one is at the Bertha Williams Library, and the other one I think is at Loveless, but it might be a venue change, I'm not sure. So yeah, I'll just keep you all updated on that as well. And that's, again, just working to get in front of more people and, explain what it is that we do and give this outreach. So again, for anyone listening, and it's mainly just because I saw or have seen that our YouTube videos have about 50 viewers, per video. I know we're also live on Facebook and things like that, and I believe there's like a TV channel you can go to as well. So again, for anyone listening, if you have things you would like to see us do, any questions that you want answered, anything like that, I'm open to receive those kind of calls, and just interested to engage with the public.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Anyone wants to say anything about our message to the viewing public? Anyone wants to add something? Yes.
Dr. Bailey, I have just a quick question for Sean. Is there any, are there any stories about the lightning route? I mean, I think that's good information to know. Is there anything that publicizes that, or a marker or anything like that, so that people know about that? Because it might be a good place to start conversations about electric vehicles or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think there like is information sort of, but it's kind of sporadic, I think, is something that I've noticed, is that, just, it's just kind of a little bit random, I guess, like who has certain information. And so, I think I have a little bit in it, in this little blurb, and then I believe I have a file actually on the lightning route. So, that's a good point. Maybe I can find that and incorporate.
We can add it to the Education Committee.
Right. All right.
Yeah. Well, Vincent, we got to stack this high.
Speaking to the microphone.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just directing Vincent to where he might find.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yes.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Sean, let me just ask you this: Do you more routinely get calls from the public with a question about historic preservation? Do you ever get any phone calls?
Yeah, it's more like most of what I get calls on are people like living in a historic district, and they have like sort of questions about design review, or do they have to come to the board, to the ARB, that kind of thing. As far as general questions about the existing historic districts. So that's where Vince and I and Keelan too, the Education Committee, are really discussing ways that we can try to outreach to people who are not in a local historic district right now. That's what I'm interested to do more of, is outreach to folks who may live in an area that we think meet the criteria for designation. So again, we do have an area that we're still in the documentation phase for a new local district. So that has taken up a lot of my time and energy. But once we can get done with that, I'm definitely interested to look at other areas of the city. And again, I think a systematic way of surveying is going to be beneficial for the city as a whole. And that way we're, basically my ideal vision is more numerous designations and also an increased frequency. So we do it more often and we have a higher number of them. So that's kind of what I'm aiming at. And so that would be my comment. From what I can remember or recall, like most days when I get calls and I don't know the number or something, it's just a random call in. It's people that are like in a local district, have a property, they have a project that they're looking to do, and they just need information on how, do they need a board approval, and if so, then how do they apply? So that's a lot of the calls that I take currently.
Okay, thank you very much. Staff update?
Yeah, I mentioned as well for this portion that we are in the midst of still documenting South Hull. I did finally get through the site inventory forms, creating those, and so that's a big milestone that was completed recently. And so now I'm going to look toward basically drafting the designation report. And so more to come on that. I'm looking at probably early part of next year in order to bring that before the board. And then you all will take a look through it, and we can, at that point basically do a recommendation, yay or nay, whether that goes to city council for designation. So that'll be a new historic district, a new local district. So assuming that it gets, that you all review it favorably. So that's one big project. I did also recently complete a grant application through the Alabama Historic Commission for a Cottage Hill survey update. This neighborhood was designated in 1974, and that's basically the last time that a survey was done. There was a National Register nomination a little later, so I guess that was an additional survey at that point, but I think even that was in the 1980s. So all of that is very old, and it is sorely needed, and so the grant application is submitted. Don't know yet if we will receive that grant, but that just wanted to let you all know of that. And so I will be looking to basically do a survey of Cottage Hill, and then based on what we find, that may come to you all as well for a potential boundary update to Cottage Hill. So that'll be a big project assuming that we get the grant for that. And I did meet with the Cottage Hill Foundation as well a week or two ago before submitting the application, and they basically confirmed to me that they're on board with the city and with our goal here, because some of that, it's just the documentation is just out of date, and again, that's just from a prior era where things were not documented, as robustly as it is today. So those are my updates. I did have one other. I just saw the endangered properties list. So this is in the 2040 Montgomery Comprehensive Plan. Is a recommendation for the HPC to create an endangered properties list. So I'm just kind of saying this right now to you all to expect this in the near future. Again, with looking at an entire new historic district, that's going to take a lot of my energy right now. And so at some point, early part of next year, going into spring or summer of next year, I'll be looking to implement an endangered properties list. So that's something that if you all have ideas for, I would just kind of want to get you all sort of brainstorming on it. And I know that, we've all had kind of conversations about, specific buildings that we, feel are endangered, or that, like, hey, what's going on with this? So I think this would be an actual great tool that we can use to publicize things that are in our city that, that we see are under threat. And so I just wanted to, put that in the near future.
Thank you very much.
I think what's important for the endangered properties list is to think what the ultimate outcome will be. There's really no point in having a list of properties that are in poor condition. There has to be an end game involved. Anyone can put together a list of a bunch of properties that are in poor condition, but we really need you to think about, if you are on the list, what is that going to entail? Are we going to designate it? Are we going to try and assist the property owner? You know, I think that's the most important thing here. There's no point in just having a list of properties on a website saying these properties are in danger. So I think we really need your input in what is the ultimate purpose of the list. So if you can have a think about that as well.
Okay. Anyone on the commission like to make a comment?
I have
Respond?
a
Yes.
question, I guess, from Warren and Sean. Are you asking us to help with the criteria, to help define, or?
Yeah, like we will need to kind of, definitely discuss some details on, like criteria for inclusion on the list, and then also, like what, kind of what's the process, like, because so something Warren and I talked about with this is that the state, the AHC does have an existing endangered properties list, and so for theirs, they have to have the property owners, I guess, consent to be listed on the endangered properties list, and so that's a key consideration as well. Is like, are we going to require owner consent? And so, which I mean, makes sense to do that if if we're publicizing a building and all of that. So there's a kind of a legal, question there that we would need to kind of work through as well. And then, definitely things like, like how often. I think most places do like a once per year. It's sort of like a year of 2025. Here are the most endangered properties. I know the state of Georgia has the same thing. So there's like a precedent for this kind of a tool. But then, as Warren said, like what's our goal? What are we going to do? Once we have the list, okay, now what? So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it sort of sounds on a smaller scale, like the National Trust for Preservation may have the
Right.
places in peril.
Places in-
Right. Yeah, so I guess locally that's similar to that.
And I think one of the bigger questions, and we used to work on the Alabama places in peril, and it would always come out in May, which is Preservation Month. That was sort of the group activity. Was it available or not? To be saved, because sometimes they're not available. But so that's part of an important part of our criteria too. Is there a way out? So.
You say available, like as in for sale? Is that what you mean?
Well, right. Or are the owners with proper help willing to do something about it? That kind of thing.
Okay.
I mean, not just public peer pressure. That kind of thing. Is it doable? So.
Okay. All right.
One other update.
Sure.
We will be updating the Montgomery 2040 comprehensive plan. In the existing plan, as Sean said, one of the goals was to create an endangered property list, which Sean's in the process of doing. Another one was updating the historic district design guidelines, which Sean is in the process of doing. It is really important for you guys to be involved, because this is the document that maps out how the city will move forward over at least the next 5 years, at least until it's updated again. This is the document that you can include historic preservation wishes or desires in. So we all know that we possibly want to see more designations. We all maybe think it would be nice if the city had a process to help fund more markers or more designations or helping people with repairs to properties. It's really important that you become involved in this process because this document will map out the sort of wish list and the direction the city goes in for the next 5 years. So, we can probably take the updating the historic design guidelines out, and we can possibly take the endangered properties list out. So these are things that have been achieved that were in there. Other things not necessarily related to you are like updating the zoning ordinance, which is in progress. So I would really strongly recommend that you become involved in this update, and I'm not saying everything that you want to see will be included in there, but this is really an opportunity to start pushing historic preservation, cultural preservation. You know, another thing I'd like to see is more green space and more trees. So once this process starts, we will keep you up to date, but if there's any public meetings or public outreach meetings, I would really strongly encourage you to come along and voice your opinions.
Thank you very much. Any comment, response to what he just said? Okay.
Could we maybe have the information specifically directed to preservation from the 2040 plan? Or could you direct us to it? Is it on the city's website?
It's on the website.
Okay.
Yeah. If you search Montgomery 2040 Comprehensive Plan, the link will pop straight up. It's a fairly lengthy document, but if you go to the end of the document, it outlines probably about 70 or 80 actions that the city wanted to achieve.
Under land use?
No, they're basically under things like people and places and environment.
Okay, it's not.
And if you look through them, you'll get an idea of the sort of things that are in there. Some are related to the police department, some are related to zoning, some are related to historic. But it will give you an idea of the sort of actions that you would like to see included in the update. And that could simply be increased recognition of the city's heritage and culture through the increased designation of historic and cultural sites. You know, these are actions which we could actively put in place, and while they may not all be absolutely completed, if it's an ongoing thing, you know, some things can be completed. The historic preservation design guidelines, there's a finite end to that, but the other ones could be something that roll on in each update.
It's just reestablishing a culture for, an appreciation for, whatever that particular item is.
It could be, yes. I mean, you can really put anything in there in the actions that you would like to see. Now, obviously, the final plan has to be adopted, and we can't go forward with 250 actions because we're never going to be able to do them all. It's a matter of fine-tuning them into the ones that everyone feels are most important for the city moving forward.
Thank you very much. Okay, as we wind down, anyone has any closing comments or anything going on you'd like to inform us of, any event coming up you'd like to talk about? Right quickly. Everybody's smiling. Okay, all right. The next scheduled meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission is Tuesday, December 9, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. Looking forward to see each and every one of you